Hey y'all, we're back.
I'm Tiffany.
I'm Kaylee, and we're back for the final Talk Tuesday. So this week we are going to talk about trivia, and so stay tuned for be on the lookout for all trivia this week, and feel free to post your response in the comment section.
All right, so in order for you
Yes.
and all of you to be in the know, I'm going to ask Kaylee a question here and see how well she does. She should ace it.
Oh, we'll see.
Okay, so which of these, Kaylee, is not a healthy relationship element? A, trust one another. B, one person makes all the decisions. C, respect one another. D, open, honest communication.
I don't know, tough one. I'm gonna go with B.
And you are correct. So B is the correct answer. When one person in the relationship is making all the decisions, so it's that power and control kind of situation that we had talked about on a previous Talk About It Tuesday. They hold the most power and may be manipulative, which once again, one of the 3 red flags we talked about is manipulation, that isolation, possessiveness, jealousy, all that jazz. So it is best if both individuals make the decisions together.
Yep.
And when we talk about mutual agreements, mutual decisions,
We talk
about consent.
So, all right. So speaking of consent, do you know that consent is a voluntary positive agreement between people to engage in a specific activity? And just so you're aware, consent for one thing does not mean consent for everything.
So I think what's really important to talk about with consent, that can be as simple as giving a high five, right? This is also, ties back into how we were talking about getting the facts, starting early, talking often. We can talk about consent clear into when you're children.
Yes.
Having that conversation with kiddos in our lives. So if I want to say hey, Kaylee, can I have a high five? She consented, right? Mm-hmm. But she doesn't have to. It might be that, nope, I'm not comfortable with that. Maybe it is a fist bump, those kinds of things. It is consenting for, let's say, pizza. We ordered a pizza earlier today. I asked, are you comfortable, okay with? Great questions to ask. With having a supreme pizza, I'm not comfortable with green peppers, so we left them off. But it was a mutual agreement on that. Just there's different layers to pizza. There's different layers to consent, but it needs to be a mutual communication, which is key in relationships, mutual agreement. And
in
same
a healthy
thing with
relationship,
yeah.
Consent is all about a healthy relationship.
And I think too, it's important just to be aware that even if you have said yes to something before, you always have that right to change your mind.
Yep.
Yeah. And then it stops.
Yes.
We don't pressure for whatever that thing is. With hugs, I even have those conversations with my nephew.
Yep, absolutely. So to go into more detail on consent is communicating every step of the way. Like Tiff said, if you consented on one thing, you do not have to consent on the same thing another time. Ask, don't assume. Sometimes we're thinking different things and you may assume something, but it's best to ask. Respecting those decisions, respecting others' decisions. Being comfortable, just again having that mutual agreement with each other, and like I said again, a person can decide to stop an activity anytime, even if they agreed to it earlier. 5 minutes ago you agreed to it and you're wrestling or messing around or whatever, and you say, okay, stop, it's getting a little too rough, then it needs to stop.
Communicating that.
Yeah, absolutely. It has to be clear. It's just a clear yes. Silence is not consent.
And so, not only is silence not consent, there's other things that consent is not. Consent is not saying yes while under the influence of drugs or alcohol. Your brain is impaired. You're not able to communicate you're not able to communicate effectively what you feel comfortable with, what your boundaries are, what your limits are, those kinds of things. So, can't give consent under the influence of drugs or alcohol. Saying yes or giving into something because you are feeling pressured, coerced, forced, restricted, any of those words are not consent. Yep. So clear, precise.
Yes.
That's consent. Communication is key in that. And consent is an important part of every single relationship. It doesn't have to be an intimate dating partnership. It can be, like I said, helping professional kind of relationship, peers, casual friends, acquaintances, those kinds of things. And when consent is not present, or when consent is present, so is open communication, so is trust, so is healthy
Yep.
boundaries,
Honesty.
so
Yep.
is all of those healthy green light kind of
Yes.
behaviors that we talked about.
Yep, absolutely. All right, so last bit, we just remember that everyone has the right to a safe and healthy relationship. Go get the facts, start early, talk often to end Teen Dating Violence Month. So just
Be approachable.
that too.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.